Hi, hello, and welcome. The second annual NBA in-season tournament is officially here, or actually, as it's been renamed this season, the Emirates NBA Cup. But it's going to work the same exact way, as far as I'm aware, as last year's in-season tournament, for those who remember that. And the group stage games actually start tonight, November 12th. And I'm actually going to fill out a bracket here today in the video, giving my predictions for the whole tournament. But before we get to that, I would like to make a little bit of an announcement for those who listen to the podcast, Hoop Theory, on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You may have noticed we haven't had an episode drop since the season started after we got all of our preseason predictions in. And that's actually because my co-host, Jacob, is actually taking a much-deserved break, going on paternity leave. And then also with the holidays coming up, I think I'm going to be riding solo for a little bit with the podcast. I just have too many thoughts on the young NBA season, mostly Nuggets thoughts, for me to just wait until Jacob comes back. So you'll probably get at least a few episodes of me by myself, just a heads up. And as far as the social media pages like TikTok and Instagram and all that, I'll still be cutting up clips of me and Jacob on previous episodes, releasing those, but I'll also probably be making more videos like this and more game videos and stuff like that during this break for Jacob. So thought I'd just get that out there, but that is it for announcements. And without further ado, let's get into the Emirates NBA Cup bracket. All right, so starting over in the Western Conference, like I said, this is the group play stage. For those of you who don't remember last year or just don't know how the whole thing works, I remember there being a lot of confusion last year, a lot of people asking like what's going on, not knowing what's going on, basically how this all works, even players not knowing how this whole tournament works. But basically here in the group stage, each team is going to play the other four teams in their group once. And in total, they're going to have 2 home games and 2 away games. And these group play games are going to take place every Tuesday and Friday between November 12th and December 3rd. Yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. I personally think though, one thing that can make this less confusing, less complex is honestly just making the groups the same as the divisions. Because, we already have 6 groups in the NBA structure. Why don't we just use those instead of making 6 more different groups, for a different purpose? To me, I just think that, it would make divisions matter more if we just made each group a division. So instead of having West A, West B, and West C, you'd have the Northwest, the Pacific, and the Southwest divisions. That's personally how I feel like it should be. I think it would be better in creating rivalries and stuff like that instead of having just a random draw of teams in your group every year that's, changing. So, but to finally get into this, starting with the first group, West A, we've got the Timberwolves, the Rockets, the Kings, the Clippers, and the Blazers. And honestly, this might be the easiest group to come out of. Maybe it's West B with some of the injuries that they're going through. And here, I'm actually going to go with the Houston Rockets. I think really it could be between the Wolves, the Rockets, or the Kings to come out of this one. I'd be surprised if it was the Blazers for sure. A little bit less surprised for the Clippers, but still would be surprised. But I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets, just like their young, fun group. I'm a little bit lower on the Timberwolves this year than most people. And kind of same thing with the Kings, to be honest, for me. Don't have a lot of faith in their defense holding up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to go with the Rockets. Now moving on to West B, we've got the Thunder, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Spurs. So I think the Thunder are clearly the best team here, but they also are pretty banged up with not having Chet Holmgren, looks like until late January with a hip fracture. But then also the Suns having their own injuries with Kevin Durant out for at least 2 weeks with a calf strain, I believe. And the Jazz have been the worst team in the West so far this season. And so that's why I think it's going to be either the Lakers or the Suns. I mean, OKC is still definitely in this. And San Antonio, for that matter, is playing pretty well relative to their expectations, I should say, starting the season 5-6. But, the Lakers being last year's champs, honestly playing pretty well so far this season. And, the injuries with the other 2 teams up here, I think that's going to inform my decision to choose the Lakers to come out of West B to play in the quarterfinals against the Houston Rockets, which I'm just realizing now that the way I made this bracket, I don't know why I decided that West B and West A were going to play each other, like the winners, like this is how the structure works, because it's actually not. It's actually based on the best teams out of group play. So whoever is leading the standings in terms of point differential and record after the group stage gets like the first seed, and then, the wild card gets the 4th seed, and they seed it that way, like 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, if that all made sense. But that's extra hard to do with these predictions, because then I'd have to choose who the best teams were out of all the groups combined. So I'm just going to stick with the way that I have it formatted here. It doesn't really matter all that much, but I'm going to have the Rockets going up against the Lakers in the first round of the knockout stage. And so then that means we're on to West C, which has the Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Pelicans, and the Grizzlies, which I think this is by far the hardest group in the Western Conference. Everybody here is just, I think New Orleans is the only easier out, and that's just because of all their injuries. They've got a lot of them with Zion, CJ, and I believe DeJounte Murray as well, all going to be out. Not too much longer, I don't think, but at least for a portion of the group stage, and so that's going to make things tough there. And, the Nuggets do have their own injuries with Aaron Gordon. Jamal Jamal Murray just coming back from one, but I believe Aaron Gordon's going to be out until December. Maybe this is just my Nuggets bias here, but also I just think the Nuggets are on a tear right now after these last 5 games, on a 5-game win streak at the moment, and Jokic is playing like the best player ever. And I think that streak continues into this in-season tournament. At least I'm being optimistic. So I'm going to bring the Nuggets out as the winners of West C. It's now I got to choose one team to be the wild card. And so for that, I'm considering the Warriors, maybe the Mavericks, or the Suns or Thunder. Those are really the main ones I'm thinking about. And I mean, Grizzlies are in there as well. But the Thunder without Chet is just, that's a really tough situation, especially when they don't even have Jalen Williams and Isaiah Hartenstein as like other bigs they can play. So I think that's just going to rule them out for me. Would not be surprised if they do get in here just because they are playing like the best team in the league so far, according to point differential after the strength of competition they've had so far. But I've just been really impressed with the Warriors start, and so I'm going to throw them in here as the wild card. And then going over to the Eastern Conference to fill out the group stage. Starting in East A, we've got the Knicks, the Magic, the Nets, the Hornets, and the Sixers. Magic are without Paolo Banchero for at least the majority, I would say probably the whole in-season tournament, but maybe he comes back sooner. I think he's supposed to be reevaluated on December 8th, which would be right before the quarterfinals. So my guess, he's going to be out a little bit longer than that. And so coming out of this group, I'm going to choose the Knicks. I just think they've been the best team so far, and the Sixers are really the only team that could maybe catch them, in this group stage with having Embiid and Paul George coming back fully healthy, and then Tyrese Maxey hopefully coming back very soon. So I'd say they're definitely going to be a wild card contender. But now on to East B, we've got the Bucks, the Heat, the Raptors, the Pacers, and the Pistons, which, this is by far the worst group so far. I don't think a single team in here has a winning record. Yeah, the best record here is Indiana, who's 5-5, and the Bucks, who are thought to be probably the best team in this group heading into the season, are 2-8, which is the second worst, right ahead of the Raptors at 2-9. The Pistons, who only won 14 games last year, already have 4 wins. They're 4-7. And so then that brings me to the Heat, who have a slightly worse record than the Pacers at 4-5, but I do kind of feel a little bit, I don't know. I'm going to stick to the thought of teams who performed well last year in the in-season tournament might have that pattern continue here with Tyrese Halliburton in the Pacers. He was really kind of the face of the in-season tournament last year, other than the Lakers, but that was kind of his coming under the scene party for a lot of people who are, more casual NBA fans. And so maybe that's just his legacy. Maybe Tyrese Halliburton is just like the GOAT of the in-season tournament. And so that is going to inform my decision here. So now on to East C, we have the Celtics, the Hawks, the Cavs, the Bulls, and the Wizards. So obviously this one's going to be between the Celtics and the Cavs being the best team record-wise so far in the league at 12-0. But the Celtics are actually the best team so far in terms of point differential, which historically is actually a better predictor of team record than team record is, judging by their point differential. The Celtics are on pace to win 68.4 games this season, while the Cavs are projected to win 67.7, which, is basically a tie. And I think the Cavs are fully healthy as far as like players who are really vital. Yeah, it looks like Max Strus and Imani Bates are the 2 guys that are injured. Max Strus really being the rotation guy there, probably that would be making somewhat of an impact. But the Celtics are without Porzingis, obviously, and then also Al Horford, I believe. Oh, but Horford's just day-to-day, set to return today, so that's not much of an issue there. So yeah, that's why I'm going to probably lean Celtics here, just because, the Cavs have started off really hot, but I think maybe are due for a few losses here, and the Celtics, I think, are going to hold up pretty well. But obviously, I think my wild card is going to just be given to the other one of these 2 teams, so I'll put the Cavs in there as the wild card. Now coming back over to the West to do the first round of the knockout stage, which these games are going to be taking place on December 10th and 11th, which I believe that's a Tuesday and a Wednesday, I want to say. Rockets versus Lakers. I'm going to stick with the experience here and go with the Lakers, and also just because that makes it line up well to have a Nuggets-Lakers semifinal, which I think is one of the best rivalries in the NBA right now. Not necessarily the most competitive rivalry, but it is one of the more entertaining ones, I would say, with the vitriol and how much Lakers fans really do not like the Nuggets and vice versa. And then over here in the East quarterfinal, Knicks versus Pacers, another really good rivalry that's more historical, but still love to see those matchups. And it is a rematch from the playoffs last year in the second round, and I just think the Knicks are a better team, so I'm going to choose them. I really like the Knicks this season. I think Karl-Anthony Towns has proved to be a really good addition to this New York squad, so I'm going to go with them. And then the Celtics versus the Cavs is a bit of a tougher one, but I'm actually going to pick the Cleveland Cavaliers here, even though I chose the Celtics to come out of the group stage. I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to say the Cavs come back and get the last word as far as the NBA Cup is concerned. And then the semifinals over here in the West, I'm going to pick the Nuggets here, just because the Nuggets always beat the Lakers. It's just kind of a law of nature at this point, which I'm sure this is going to age very poorly if that law does prove to be faulty. But I'm still going to go with the Nuggets here. Obviously, I'm being being quite a bit of a homer, but I can't help but be confident and optimistic, I guess, at the moment. So I'm just going to go with the Nuggets here. And then just to flip things around, I think I'm going to pick the Knicks here. You know, I like the Knicks. I think the Knicks against the Cavs, Knicks usually win in recent years. And I think the Cavs might be, you know, due for a little bit of a rougher stretch at some point. And I don't know. That's going to be my reasoning here. I'm going to choose the Knicks to get in there. And then, yeah, I just feel really good about the Nuggets against the Knicks, I guess. If I would have chosen the Cavs, I feel like I would have, if I would have chosen the Cavs here, I feel like I probably would pick the Cavs to win over the Nuggets, to be honest, just because I don't feel quite as good about that matchup from the Nuggets perspective. But against the Knicks, I feel a little bit better. But in my heart of hearts, I don't know. I would be surprised if the Nuggets win the whole thing, even though I've got them already to this point. So I'm just going to go with the Knicks. I think the Knicks, like, I like that as a pick, you know, for winning the 2024-2025 Emirates NBA Cup. And so that'll do it. Thank you for watching.